His skull cracked against marble. One moment Marcus stood at the concierge desk in his tailored suit. The next, security slammed him down. A woman screamed, "That's him, the man who tried to rob me." The impact echoed through the lobby, bone-meeting stone. His phone shattered across the floor. A champagne flute exploded against tile. The background noise, soft jazz, fountain water, polite conversation, cut to silence. Then chaos. The gold Patek Philippe on his wrist caught the lights as his hands were forced behind his back. What none of them knew, not the security guard, not the shrieking woman, not the crowd raising their phones, was that Marcus Reynolds didn't just own a room here. He owned the entire building. And in the next 5 minutes, everyone in this lobby would be exposed for exactly who they were. The morning had started quietly. Marcus had landed his private jet at dawn, the kind of arrival that kept him off radars. At 42, he'd built a tech empire worth $800 million, but wealth hadn't insulated him from the weight of skin color. It had only sharpened the contrast, made the assumptions more jarring when they came. He'd driven his Rolls-Royce Phantom to the Grandview Hotel, the property he'd purchased 6 months ago, walking into the lobby to check renovation progress. The new accent lighting had cost $40,000 to angle perfectly, illuminating the original 1924 architecture. His great-grandfather had been refused entry to this very hotel 90 years ago. Now Marcus owned it. The irony wasn't lost on him. At the concierge desk, he'd barely spoken his name before the scene erupted. Now, with his cheek pressed against cold marble and a knee digging into his spine, Marcus felt that familiar heat rising, that burning anger living in every black man who'd been watched in stores, stopped in neighborhoods, questioned in spaces where his presence was deemed suspicious. The rage that screamed, "Defend yourself, fight back, make them see." But Marcus had learned. Black rage, no matter how justified, would only confirm their suspicions. So he breathed and waited. Patricia Whitmore clutched her Hermes bag like a shield, pointing a trembling finger. "I was sitting in a cafe," she gasped to the forming crowd, voice pitched with manufactured fear. "I saw him lurking, watching my purse. I know, I've seen this before. They dress up, blend in, wait for the right moment. My sister's purse was stolen at a Hilton. It's always the same pattern." Marcus's jaw tightened, but his voice remained measured. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Don't you ma'am me," Patricia shrieked. "David, don't let him talk." These people are always so smooth, so convincing. That's how they operate. The security guard, David Chun, 28, 6 years in private security. Press harder. He'd been trained to respond fast, ask questions later. A black man with a white woman screaming? His training said, "Threat. Sir, stop resisting." "I'm not resisting." Marcus's voice carried that boardroom calm from negotiating billion-dollar deals. "I'm standing still. There's a difference." The crowd formed a semicircle, phones already recording. Marcus could see it in their eyes, some concerned, others grimly satisfied, a few uncomfortable but silent. That silence cut deeper than Patricia's accusations or David's grip. The silence of people who knew something was wrong, but chose comfort over courage. Near the back, a well-dressed woman touched her husband's arm. "Michael, should we—" "This doesn't seem right." He squeezed her hand once, eyes on his phone. "Don't get involved." "Honey, not our business." Within seconds, he'd pulled up his airline app, planning their early departure. Whatever this was, it wasn't their problem. The hotel manager rushed over, footsteps sharp against polished floor. Robert Castellano, 36, Yale Business School graduate, had run the Grandview for 6 months. He'd been hired through Marcus's legal team, had never met the owner in person. All business conducted through video calls and lawyers. Marcus had preferred it that way, liked to evaluate operations anonymously. "What's going on here?" Robert demanded. Patricia launched in immediately, embellishing with each word. "This man followed me from the parking garage, stalking me through the lobby. Robert, you know what kind of clientele this hotel serves. Look at him. Does he look like he belongs here?" Robert's eyes flickered across Marcus's suit. "Brioni for $1,000. The Patek Philippe, $60,000 minimum." Italian leather shoes, 2000. For a moment, something like recognition crossed his face. His eyes narrowed slightly. But then he looked at Patricia, her face red and indignant. He looked at the crowd, their phones raised, expectations clear. He looked at the social equation and made his choice. "Sir," Robert said, voice apologetic but firm, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises. We can't have guests feeling uncomfortable." The words hung like smoke. "We can't have guests feeling uncomfortable. Not, let's investigate what happened. Not, can you show us your room key? Not, ma'am, did you see him commit a crime? Just, we can't have guests feeling uncomfortable." Marcus's posture never changed. That straight-back stance from his father, a Marine, who taught him that respect was commanded, not begged for. "I see. So her comfort matters more than truth. Please don't make this difficult," David interjected, radio crackling. "You can leave peacefully, or we can call the police." A young black teenager near the edge had tears streaming down his face. He'd watched it all unfold, had seen himself in Marcus's position, had felt the familiar weight of presumed guilt. His mother held him close, her face tight with barely suppressed fury and fear. Marcus saw them, saw the teenager, saw how this moment was imprinting itself on that young man's understanding of the world. "Call the police," Marcus said, his voice carrying across the lobby with absolute clarity. "Please, I insist." Patricia looked triumphant. "See? He's unstable. I knew it." David reached for his radio, but Marcus spoke again, each word dropping like stones into water. "But before you do, I'd like you to call someone else first." He turned his head, meeting Robert's eyes. "Call Richard Ashford, the hotel's chief legal counsel. His number is in your contacts under property owner legal." Robert froze. "Property owner?" "Richard handles all my real estate acquisitions," Marcus continued, tone conversational. "Tall British man, leather briefcase worth more than your monthly salary. You two had lunch last week finalizing the purchase agreement. You ordered the Chilean sea base." Color drained from Robert's face like water from a cracked glass. "Mr. Reynolds?" The lobby's temperature dropped 20 degrees. "That's right," Marcus said softly. "Marcus Reynolds. The man whose signature is on your paycheck, Robert, who purchased this hotel for $47 million 6 months ago, whose great-grandfather was refused entry to this building in 1933, who now owns every brick, every fixture, every piece of art on these walls." He shifted slightly, David's grip loosening in shock. "The man you just asked to leave his own property because a guest felt uncomfortable." Blood drained from Robert's face, so quickly he swayed, reaching for the desk. His mouth opened, closed, open again. Patricia went from red to white to gray. The pearls at her throat seemed to tighten. David's hands fell completely slack. The crowd pressed closer, dozens of cameras capturing the exact moment 3 careers ended. Marcus straightened slowly, adjusting his suit jacket with precise movements. He could have revealed this earlier, save himself the humiliation, the pain, the sting of accusations. But he needed to see it, needed to witness exactly who these people were when they thought there would be no consequences. "Robert," Marcus said, brushing invisible dust from his lapel, "do you remember what I told Richard when hiring a manager? I wanted someone who would treat every guest with dignity, who would investigate before accusing, who understood that this hotel's history, built in 1924, one of the first integrated luxury hotels in the South, carried a responsibility." Robert's knees buckled. He caught himself on the counter. "Mr. Reynolds, I didn't know." "You didn't know because you didn't ask." Marcus's voice cut like steel wrapped in silk. "You saw what you expected to see. A black man in an expensive suit must be pretending, must be dangerous, must not belong. You saw brown skin and filled in the rest. Then you chose or fear irrational, unsubstantiated, racist fear, over truth, over justice, over my dignity as a human being." He turned to Patricia, whose hand pressed against her mouth, makeup running. "You said you know my type. You're right. My type graduated summa cum laude from MIT. built a software company, and sold it for $200 million before 35. Gives millions to charity, creates jobs, builds communities. But none of that mattered, did it? You saw brown skin in a nice hotel and decided, criminal, threat, other. You weaponized that assumption, turned your fear into my guilt, your prejudice into my punishment. Patricia opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Marcus pulled out his phone and made a call that connected immediately. Richard, it's Marcus. I'm at the Grandview. There's been an incident. No, I'm not injured. But some people are about to wish they'd made very different choices. He ended the call and looked at the crowd, at the phone still recording. I want everyone to understand something, Marcus said, voice carrying to every corner, to every camera, to every person who would watch this replay across social media in coming hours. This isn't about me being rich enough to own this hotel. Wealth didn't protect me from being assaulted, accused, told I don't belong. This is about the fact that if I weren't rich, if I didn't own this building, if I were just Marcus, a black man in a nice suit checking into a hotel, you'd all be comfortable with what just happened. You go back to your rooms, pat yourselves on the back for staying safe, and never think about the man whose life you try to destroy based on nothing but skin color. The teenager near the edge let out a choked sob. Marcus met his eyes, held them. I'm letting you record this, Marcus said, addressing the cameras directly. Not to shame you, though you should be ashamed, but because every black parent in America has a talk with their kids about how to act around police, how to keep hands visible, how to stay calm when people assume the worst, how to survive the assumption of guilt. Maybe if enough people see this, their parents will start having a different talk about examining their own assumptions, questioning their biases, recognizing that their comfort is not more important than someone else's humanity. Sirens wailed outside. Real police were arriving. Marcus straightened his tie and waited, posture relaxed but alert. 2 officers entered, a white man with gray hair and a younger black woman whose name tag read Johnson. Their hands hovered near weapons as they scanned the crowd, eyes landing on Marcus. Officers, Marcus said calmly, hands moving in deliberate slow motion. I'm Marcus Reynolds. I own this property. I'm reaching for my identification now, right inside jacket pocket, moving slowly so you can see everything. The older officer, Martinez, nodded. Slowly, sir. Hands first. Marcus complied, producing his wallet. He extracted his driver's license and a business card embossed with gold lettering. My identification and my attorney's card. Richard Ashford, 15 minutes away. I like to file a report for false accusation, assault, and unlawful detention. Officer Johnson took the cards, eyes widening. Marcus Reynolds, the tech entrepreneur, who founded Next Tech Solutions. That's me. She looked at Patricia, at David, at Robert, understanding wash across her face. Ma'am, she said to Patricia, voice professional but frost cold, did you actually witness this man commit a crime? Did he touch you, threaten you, take anything? Patricia faltered. Well, no, but he was lurking. Lurking is not a crime, ma'am. Standing in a hotel lobby is not a crime. Being black in a nice suit is not a crime. Making a false police report, however, is. We'll need your full statement. The doors open again. Richard Ashford swept in 6'3", Seville Road tailoring, briefcase worth more than David's car, British accent cutting through the air. What in the bloody hell happened here? He took in the scene with a practiced eye. Richard, Marcus said, a slight smile touching his lips, meet the staff and guests of the Grandview Hotel. I think we need new management. The videos went viral within 3 hours. Millions of views by sunset, tens of millions by morning. Black millionaire racially profiled at his own hotel became more than a hashtag. It became a moment, a conversation that refused to be ignored. Marcus held a press conference the next morning. Standing in that same lobby, he looked into the cameras. I want to be clear. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have money, lawyers, resources. I own the hotel. I can survive this humiliation with my dignity intact. But there are thousands of black men and women who don't own the hotel, who don't have attorneys on speed dial, who don't have millions of followers. Those people end up with criminal records, for crimes they didn't commit. They lose jobs, can't find housing, end up in a system designed to punish them for existing while black. He paused, voice thick with controlled emotion. This is about a system that looks at skin color before credentials, that assumes guilt before investigating innocence, that values the comfort of prejudice over the dignity of human beings. That system needs to change. The hotel became Marcus's laboratory for change. Within weeks, every employee went through mandatory anti-bias training. He hired Dr. Jennifer Chin as the hotel's first director of equity and inclusion. He created scholarships for students of color pursuing hospitality careers. The Grand View became a beacon, proof that systems could change when someone with power demanded it. Patricia Whitmore's public apology came 3 days later. Standing at a press conference, hands shaking, she read from a prepared statement. I want to apologize to Mr. Reynolds for my assumptions, my fear, my racism. The word physically hurt her to say. I thought I was being vigilant. I see now I was profiling. I'm deeply sorry. But the internet had decided. Her LinkedIn disappeared within 48 hours. Her employer, a Fortune 500 marketing firm where she'd been senior VP, severed ties with a statement about values misalignment. David Chin disappeared from social media. 6 months later, Marcus received a handwritten letter. Mr. Reynolds, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I've spent every day trying to understand how I became the person who grabbed you, who assumed guilt, who let biases overpower my training in humanity. I've enrolled in bias training. I'm working with a therapist. I'm reading, learning, trying to see the world differently. It's hard. It's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is nothing compared to what I put you through. Thank you for not pressing charges. I'm trying to earn the chance to be better. David, Marcus kept the letter in his office. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder that people could change if they chose to work. The teenager who'd watched that day, Deshaun Williams, 16, received a phone call 3 weeks later. Marcus Reynolds wanted to meet. They sat in a cafe. Marcus ordered coffee and apple pie, remembering being 16 and always hungry. You saw something that day, Marcus said quietly. Something you shouldn't have had to see. Deshaun nodded, couldn't speak. I saw you too, Marcus continued. Saw you understanding that this could happen to you. That being black in a nice place, wearing nice clothes, doing everything right. None of it protects you from other people's assumptions. My mom says I should be grateful, Deshaun whispered. Says at least you weren't hurt. At least it ended okay. But I can't stop thinking about all the times it doesn't end okay. When there's no cameras, no reveal, no justice. Just another black guy nobody believes. Marcus was quiet. Then, your mom's not wrong. I am alive. I got justice. But you're not wrong either. Most stories don't end like mine. Most don't have a twist that makes the racist look foolish. Most just have pain. He leaned forward. So here's what I want to tell you. That anger you feel, that fear, that exhaustion at having to prove your humanity every day, those feelings are valid. But they don't have to define you. You can channel them into education, success, change. You can build something so undeniable that even the Patricia Whitmores of the world have to acknowledge it. He slid an envelope across the table. I want to pay for your college. All 4 years, any school you get into. Not charity, investment. Because I see in you what nobody saw in me at your age. Potential, intelligence, fire. Don't let what happened make you small. Let it make you powerful. Deshaun opened it with shaking hands. Saw the letter, the commitment, the promise. For the first time since that horrible morning, he felt something other than rage and fear. He felt hope. For years later, Deshaun Williams graduated from MIT with a computer science degree. He joined Marcus's company as a software engineer, then team lead, then director. 8 years after that day, he was VP of technology at Reynolds Capital. You saved my life that day, Deshaun told Marcus at his VP celebration. Not by being rich or famous. By letting me see that our anger can become our fuel. That we don't have to accept other people's assumptions. That we can build our own tables when we're not invited to theirs. Marcus smiled, raised his glass. You saved your own life. I just gave you a shove. The rest was all you. The Grandview became famous not for the incident, but for what came after. Its anti-bias training became industry standard, licensed worldwide. The Marcus Reynolds Fellowship sent dozens of students of color to hospitality programs annually. The hotel's diversity stats became exemplary. But Marcus never forgot that morning. Marble against his cheek, the knee in his spine, the crowd silence, the manager's choice, the woman's assumptions. He kept a photo in his office. The lobby, taken that morning before everything changed. On difficult days, when board meetings ran long or acquisitions fell through, or the weight felt too heavy, he'd look at that photo and remember why he'd chosen to expose it rather than hide it, why he'd let the videos go viral rather than suppress them, why he'd transform the hotel rather than sell it. Because one morning of humiliation, captured and witnessed by millions, had sparked conversations in living rooms and boardrooms and classrooms across the country, had forced people to examine their own biases, their own silences, their own choices, had proved that sometimes the most powerful weapon against racism wasn't rage or revenge, but truth, witnessed and undeniable. If you've ever been judged before anyone knew your story, if you've been followed in a store, questioned in your own neighborhood, assumed guilty until proven innocent, you understand this moment. You've lived some version of it. You've felt that weight, that exhaustion, that crushing awareness that your humanity is considered optional by people who will never know your name. This isn't about one rich man being disrespected. It's about every black person who's been profiled, every brown person told they don't belong, every person of color who works twice as hard for half the respect. The only difference? Marcus had the platform to expose it. Most don't. Share this story. Not because it has a happy ending, though it does. Share it because someone needs to see they're not alone, that their experiences are real, that the gaslighting they face daily is witnessed and validated. Share it because maybe someone who looks like Patricia or Robert or David will watch and recognize themselves and choose differently next time. That's what needs to change. That's what will change. One conversation, one confrontation, one choice at a time. Because the suit doesn't matter. The watch doesn't matter. The net worth doesn't matter. When the world decides your skin is your only credential, none of it protects you. But truth does. Witnesses do. Change does. And that change starts now.